G'day, Ben from Melbourne here. And we're going to do another one of those bloody interviewing the VC videos. You seem to like them more than when I'm by myself showing records, so I'm going to keep up with it. You know, I'm a bitch for views. So, of course, today we've got Alex from Beer and Vinyl. And what do you think about when you think about Alex? Beer, vinyl, vinyl, and beer. Beer and vinyl. That's what I think. And it's a killer combination that has been proven to make you turn it up too loud. Well, according to your neighbours anyway. Forget where you put the record cover, mix up what record goes with what sleeve, leave your fingerprints or worse on your records, dance like a maniac and make the record skip and end up in the doghouse sleeping on the couch. Good times for all. The always on brand, Alex from Beer and Vinyl. Cheers.
Oh, shit. My bad.
Wow, you smashed it, man, within the first few seconds.
That wouldn't be the first time that happened in my personal life, Ben. Good thing I got more. You know, I got more to go around. So, yeah.
Well, lucky. That's why you call Beer and Vinyl.
That's why I got a brand. How are you, sir?
Not bad. I was going to ask you the same question, but you beat me to the punch.
So sorry. Here's the thing: is if you're gonna chug because Ben Rankins pressures you into doing it, you have to do like water beer adjacent. So 95 calories and 2.6 carbohydrates on the Michelob Ultra. There you go.
Excellent. I'm not sure what all of that means.
That's okay.
I just drink them.
That's the proper way to do it.
Okay, so if you stumbled into this video, what it's about is I have a member of the vinyl community as a guest, and I grill them with 12 questions plus a bonus. They get 6 questions where they're allowed to prepare, which I think, is fair enough considering the questions. So, and, makes for good viewing as well, of course. And then there's 6 where they're in the hot seat. So they just have to perform on the spot. They get a point for each question, depending on whether I'm happy with the answer or not. Seems like all of the Americans are really competitive and care about the points and are giving me shit in the comments about that shouldn't have been worth a point and I'm just giving away points. It's my channel, mate. I can do whatever I like. And the points really, they only mean stuff to you. All right, let's get into it.
I'm just excited, man. What's the question? First question.
Justify your YouTube VC existence. Why should we watch your channel and show a record, or in your case, a beer that supports this?
Well, it's funny, not to sound Canadian or like a lot of your other guests, but here's the thing. I can't even justify my own existence as a human being, nevertheless a YouTube channel. But for you, Ben, I'll do anything. So here's how I decided to do this. I'm Beer and Vinyl, for those who don't know. And so what I'm doing today, after I just chugged that one, I'm going to bust open another beer that happens to be a hazy India Pale Ale. Are you into the IPAs, Ben?
I do like an IPA, yeah.
That's good. Okay. Now, this is from the great Ohio. I'm in Ohio, for those who don't know, in the States. And I love Ohio music, Ohio culture, what's left of it, and all that type of stuff, Ohio beers. So to justify my existence, what I'm doing here is this is a brewery, Branch and Bone Artisan Ales out of Dayton, Ohio. The city of Dayton, Ohio. Here's what it looks like. Good looking beer. We love that. But I wanted to pull, okay, what's the band from Dayton, Ohio, right? So now we're getting all the places with it here. And so I decided to do, I decided to throw it back a little bit here. and pull out ecstasy from the Ohio players out of Dayton, Ohio. Now, a lot of people don't know that Dayton, Ohio is like ground zero for funk. It is the funk capital of the world and elsewhere. And this is when they were getting into their super provocative covers and all that type of stuff. For the label nerds out there, I know that's you and all your viewers, Ben. This was the last record they did on Westbound. And I forget where they went after that, but they were on Westbound, which is always a cool thing. But, yeah, you're talking, what a cool cover here. Look at that. Oh, other side. How about that?
Oh, nice.
How about that?
Yeah.
You ever have any of these nights, Ben?
Just last night.
Shit, no way.
Yeah. Hey, I play in a rock band. These things happen all the time.
Here's the thing. In this situation here, you got like beautiful woman here. You got the man. I would be the chain. Okay, so. and because we're beer and vinyl, cheers.
Excellent answer.
All right.
So I'm going to give you a point for that because
Okay.
that was you were put on the spot with also having to provide a beer, which no one else has had to do. But
No.
I knew you could do it. Two things I want to ask, which is outside of the realm of questions.
Sure.
I just thought when you were talking about local beers, what do you, from an American point of view, what do you think when I say Foster's?
Foster's, Australian for beer. I mean, I think here's what I love about Foster's. I love the packaging. Those big, like, torpedo cans that you could break some stuff with those cans. And so when I, see the cooler of all like the trash and I see the big, like 22-ounce Foster's can, I'm in, man.
I want to break your heart right now. Nobody in Australia drinks Foster's.
Oh, I'm shocked.
It's we all hate it.
Probably because it tastes like American beer.
And you never see it in bottle shops. You don't see it over here.
Yeah.
I always find that funny because if I saw more Fosters when I was overseas last year than I've ever seen in my whole life.
I wonder
and
if they,
secondly,
yeah,
Ohio players, you just made me go back in time when I saw that because I have a young uncle who I was probably single digits in primary school when he was still living at home with my grandparents.
Mm-hmm.
And in his room, he had posters of their album covers. And there was some pretty saucy stuff, as you know. And And at that age, those posters gave me feelings I didn't quite understand yet.
Yeah.
But I somehow was compelled to look at them.
Yeah, like what fun, like she has the same haircut as you.
Yeah.
What,
That's
right?
why
Like
I think I like it. We better get on to question two.
One could say that you see yourself in her.
There's a whole lot of time on the psychiatrist couch discussing that. But we better get to question two because we're nearly clocked 10 minutes already.
Okay.
Show a record that I like.
All right. Well, maybe this is the obvious one, but this is a band that is new to me. I'm in the sense of new to liking them, new to wanting to buy their stuff and all that type of stuff. And I know a lot of people come to you and they're like, Ben, what do we do here? There's a gazillion albums, 15 come out every single year. Who's the lizard, who's the king, all those different things. But I grabbed the first one that I bought, which was Nonagon Infinity. So this was the people told me, look, Alex, you're a prog guy. If you're the prog guy, this is a good place to start because that's the tough thing is you could probably talk about with King Giz. It's everything all the time, all at once. And so people told me to start here and I'm glad they did because I love this. And, it's got like what I would say a pretty, I don't want to say it's a silly concept, but all concepts are kind of silly. The whole, like, it's an infinite loop. It begins. And if you just start it again, all that kind of stuff. It's cute. I like it. But I mean, come on, it's Australia. So there you go.
And that record, that just goddamn rocks. I love that record.
It sure does.
And I saw them play it all live, and like,
Oof.
they're definitely I love the records, but they're definitely a live band. Like you got to see them live.
What's funny about that is I've started thinking they're a type of band for me where I think I have 2 of their studio albums, but I think I would probably enjoy the live albums more.
Yeah, they're really well done.
Yeah.
I think is it Fuzz Club and do a lot of their live, what they call their bootlegger series.
Okay.
Which are really good, and they're recorded well, and the packaging's out of sight, as you can imagine.
Now, can I ask you a trivia question?
Jesus,
I know.
I asked the questions, mate.
That's right, but I kind of forgot. So they're on ATO Records. Do you know who founded ATO Records?
Some guy, I suppose.
You're exactly right. Dave Matthews.
Fucking hell.
How about that, Ben?
All right. This is going to turn into a me selling all of my King Gizzard records now that I've been given that disturbing information. That must be just a distribution deal, because they started off on their own label, Flightless Records, and now all this stuff is released through P Doom over here.
Okay. Yeah, you're still fine then.
That was a close shave.
That's right.
All right, number 3. 2 out of, well, we haven't got 3 yet, so I'm giving you 2 out of 2 so far.
Okay.
What is the most unusual item that has been included with a record you own? Can be either a legit part of the package or something the previous owner left in there.
This is my favorite question. My favorite question of the bunch, because I love this story and it kills me. So the record itself is Eye in the Sky from Alan Parsons Project. You out?
I'm with you, man.
You got it.
Sorry about that.
Oh, you're good. I was like, oh, he gone. He's like, I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. As soon as you pulled that record out, see ya.
It's like, now, I remember buying this out of a dollar bin. I'm a fan of Alan Parsons Project. This was such a huge commercial hit for them. People growing up, though, in the States in the 90s, this was a huge deal because the Chicago Bulls would use Sirius, the opening track. That was the Chicago Bulls intro theme during the Michael Jordan era. So the drill. Anyway, so cool. Buy the record. Awesome. It's got the original inner, the stuff that everybody's like, yeah, man, you got that inner on that dollar record. You're like, yeah, man, for sure. But then I'm going through there to clean it up, and I'm like, what's all this stuff in there? Now, this. You've had people in there be like, you find, weed paraphernalia. You got all these cannabinoids going on. Sometimes it's just like a mushroom floating around. Well, this and the Eye in the Sky had 4 pages of handwritten notes that I can only decipher as a divorce letter.
What?
Now, I will say it is okay. It's actually only 3 pages. Apologies, but there's 2 extra leaflets. Now, here's a throwback. You remember paper like this? What kind of 5-ring binder?
Reminds me of school.
Now, this was made out to Bob. So Bob here is obviously the husband, and it's, I won't read it all, but the letter itself, I'll be honest with you. When I first started reading this, I was like, I need to return this, because this record's got some bad juju with it. Because I thought it was like a death letter, like a suicide note. Like, it was that bad. And I was like, I can't have this in the home, like I know. Now, here's what's wild. I have to find the bit here, because that's what's really important about the whole thing. But there's so much in here of, Bob, like, you've ruined my life. The kids hate you. You won't stop drinking. All these different things. But there's a specific, and I'm like, why is this in an Alan Parsons project? Like, what a weird record to put that in. And again, like, you can, like, all this, like, all of it's in there. And there's a line in here. I should have looked for it earlier, but it's so dark and creepy. And it says something along the lines of, in a few years, when all of this and me are gone, I will be nothing more than the eye in the sky.
That is amazing.
So, and we also know their kids. The kids are Anna and Frank.
They're fucked up now,
Oh,
however
God,
old they are.
I would probably get along with them.
That is wild.
Yeah.
Definite points. That was nuts.
So, yeah, but decent record,
Wow.
whatever.
That is intense. I know what you mean. I would have wanted to like get rid of that record straight away. That's
yeah, pretty dark stuff. But
but
hey,
on the upside, you get a point for it. I'm always positive.
And that's what matters.
Let's have another go.
Cheers.
Hey people, it's tough drinking at 8 o'clock in the morning. But I'll do anything for Alex. All right, number 4. What is the worst record by your favorite band artist? Why do you have it? No sob stories allowed.
All right. Well, you might not give me a point for this because I have a feeling that you'll hate this band, and so then you'll be like, piss off or whatever you say. But I started thinking about this, and this was my first favorite band, right? This was the music I fell in love with, man, when I was young. And funny enough, I was probably 13 or 14 when I fell in love with this band, which is why I liked them so much, because it was perfect for the, stupid adolescent who liked songs about like pouring sugar on people or whatever.
Yes.
You know where I'm going. So
I do.
In 2004, I was like, oh, wow, Alex, you're apparently now a Def Leppard fanatic. When was the last time they even released an album? And I saw, oh, wow, 2 years ago, Def Leppard had released an album back in 2002 called X.
They really put a lot of work into that cover.
Well, here's the even worse part. X means the idea was that it was 10, right? And so they're like, oh, it's obviously their 10th studio album. And they're like, no, it's not. It's our 10th album, including compilations that no one else counts as actual albums.
Yeah. How weird.
This sounds like Def Leppard in 2002. This was the album they brought out. They bring in outside songwriters. It's like contemporary adult rock. Like it is. Who would have thought I'd be like, you know what? The songwriting's not great, but it's not pouring sugar on people. I found myself, messing that. I mean, here's this. Okay. Wow.
Well, there's a few hair transplants going on that photo.
Rick Allen over here wishing that the car took both of his arms at that point.
Harsh.
but I will say this is a critically just awful record. I think most people most Def Leppard fans would put this at the bottom. But I will say this contains one of the best non-boy band songs of all time, called "Long, Long Way to Go." And if you want Def Leppard that sounds like the Backstreet Boys of 2000s, that is the song. And I gotta tell you, they nail it. So
I don't want the Backstreet Boys, and I don't want Def Leppard at all.
I figured, but you know what? It's not about the points, man.
Yeah, you'll be saying that when in the comments when someone beats you. I know what you Yanks are like. You're all cool, and then once the videos come out, you're all complain about the points. I can't. I'm sorry, Alex, but I cannot support Def Leppard or Def Leppard being a Backstreet Boys cover band.
Okay, you know what, and that's I support it. Now, I mean, they were pretty big everywhere, though. I mean, they had to be pretty big down there, eh?
Oh, they were massive. You couldn't avoid it.
Yeah, well, and that's the problem, right?
I could never understand how the singer could get those jeans on, because there was more holes than jeans in them. I never understood that.
I see that's where your mind was going. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And that's why you don't like them.
Yeah, it's reasonable, isn't it?
That's right.
Okay, let's move on. Tell us a story of the most unusual or funny thing that has happened at a gig you've attended or played.
Okay, well, it might be semi-cheating, but it's kind of two. But the first one is super quick and easy. I saw Jackson Browne a couple of years ago in a place here in Columbus, the Palace Theater. It is your typical Palace Theater. You know, it's like the Dollar General Sydney Opera House, you know? All right.
Nice.
It's Jackson Brown, man. It's like just him up there singing songs about missing friends and, you know, and that sort of thing. And this was the rowdiest crowd I've ever witnessed in my life. Now, I've attended like black metal shows and like the basement of Chinese buffets. This was the most rowdy crowd ever. So much so that 8 people in front of us got escorted out by Columbus police because of fighting, getting, you know, shouting, all these things at a Jackson Brown show. Anyway, and then my other favorite, and I share this all the time because it just kills me. Year ago-ish, I get a notification that Pete Best is coming to town. Now,
what does he do?
You are a drummer, Ben, so obviously you have to have the utmost respect for Pete Best.
Well, he did get the raw prawn, let's say.
Yes, which informs what's going on here. Now, you asked a great question: is what does he do? I'll tell you what he does. Is he plays the drums in the Pete Best band sometimes because his son or nephew is playing all the time. So they got 2 drum sets set up, like a la like Grateful Dead situation, but it's like his son who's actually playing and then him who's sort of like pretending to. Now, I will respect this. Like, he's very old. He was taking some time at the mic. He's got like the shakes. I think he just announced he's retiring. Like, so there's obviously some, like, he's just old.
Yeah.
But this was advertised as come see the Pete Best band. He's doing a signing after. He's doing a signing. Hell yeah. So I started thinking, I was like, well, I'm a Beatles fan, but like, you know, I'm not going to show up with Revolver and be like, hey, Pete, you know, can you sign here right by this derpy looking guy that looks like Ringo? No. So I was like, oh, I got to go out.
You turn up with a Revolver and be like, this is why you didn't get the job, man.
Right. You know, and I know people do that all the time. I think that's a great like conversation of like people signing records that they're not on, you know? So I was like, this was like a day of decision. I was like, I got to go around to like my 7 record stores and find the Beatles record that he's on. So of course I went out and found this, which is like one of the only ones. The one was Tony Sheridan, all that type of stuff. And I was like, I got it. I'm going to be such a cool collector because I'm going to go and sweat through the Pete Best band. And then afterwards, I'm going to have him sign this. And he's going to be so impressed. He's going to be like, hey, you know, for an overweight guy, you're not bad. I'll be like, thank you, Pete. Like, that's amazing. And so I was like, I'm ready to go. And he plays the show. Awful. Worst show I've ever seen in my life. But I was there for the signature, man. I was there. And call it karma or whatever else. But I'm like 3rd in line for his little table. He comes waddling out with 2 Budweisers. All right. Sits down. And all of a sudden, his manager / wife / you know, whoever puts a sign on the table that says cash only, individual, you know, personal signatures, $50 a piece.
Oh,
I got like Comic-Con out of this. Like, I got conned literally. And I'm looking around. There's this guy behind me who's got a binder. You know, Beatle collectors. They're in, you know, right? He's got a binder of black and white photos that he starts flipping, dropping like $800 in cash. Sign this. And I'm like, he's going to make me charge $50 to sign this in cash in 2024? So at that point, I'm looking at him and it's like, is there an ATM in here? No. You know, and I'm surrounded by a bunch of old people who were like, do you take check? You know, so I was, you know, I was complete, like, karma got me because I knew I was really, truly only going for like, wow, I'm seeing a Beatle. I'm going to meet a Beatle. I'm going to get something signed.
Seems like times are tough for Pete if he's got to do that.
Well, they must have been okay because now he retired. But I think, you know, I just, yeah, you know, that's what I deserve. So I know that was a little bit of a story, but so it goes.
Great story. Good comeback. I'll give you a point for that.
Thank you.
All right. Number 6. Show your favorite music-related fruit or vegetable that's not a banana.
So this is such a silly question. Sorry, this is such a good question. I love it. I just interpreted this like so many others of like, I'm going to show a record that has a fruit or vegetable on it. I don't know if it's a related. It's not like an orange is like, oh, I play the orange when I'm feeling down. Anyway, I'm gonna go with Badfinger's ass. That is a carrot, Ben. I don't know if you get those down there, but
yeah, we have carrots.
You
We're
got
not
carrots?
that far away. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I see this, and Badfinger is one of my favorite bands of all time. Heartbreaking story. This was the last record that they did on Apple Records. In fact, the depiction of the art here is they are the ass, and this is supposed to represent Apple Records. Hey, another fruit. Dangling the proverbial carrot. So yeah, of course, opening up with Apple of My Eye, which is basically their breakup song to Apple. But huge Badfinger fan, and whenever I get that fruit or veggie question, I have to show the carrot. Now I also look at that carrot and just want a big old side of ranch. Imagine dipping that into some ranch dressing down there. That's right. So
I feel that's a missed opportunity on their behalf, because instead of like, they should have just been literal and said this is for the record company and called it "Stick This Carrot Up Your Ass."
I would have.
We don't play around in Australia. We just tell you how we feel.
Clearly not. No, absolutely not. So now these next ones I'm nervous for, man. I'm nervous.
I've yet to see a carrot, so I like that.
Okay.
Seen a lot of fruit, not many vegetables, so nice change.
Just like me.
All right. Now, for the unprepared for questions. Number 6. No, we've done number 6. Let's do number 7 instead. Just mixing it up there.
Yeah.
Who is the most punchable singer?
Ooh. Could I do a tie if they're within the same sort of family?
You can answer it however you wish.
Okay. Well, no, I'm going to go with one. I think the most punchable singer is Axl Rose.
That is a great choice.
That
is a great choice. I think even if you were a Guns N' Roses fan, you would find him punchable.
Yeah, I would hope so.
That is a great answer. Okay, and it seems to be becoming a thing that I followed that question with this question. Apologize for liking Van Morrison, or celebrate your hate and come join me on the good side.
I apologize.
No! We were getting along so well.
I really like Van Morrison up until about 1978. And I
You're going to get the lowest score that we've had so far.
That's fine. I mean, it's a look. That would track with like U.S. like life expectancy, and as well as some other things. Like we fall behind the rest of the world when it comes to really important matters. Like most things, but boy, we're really good at certain things. Okay, so yeah, I'm sorry, and I think he's I think he's a clown, but I really like those records. I really do like those records, and so I'm sorry, and I apologize.
It's really hard for me because there's part of me wants to award you a point because you are the first person I've interviewed who seems sincerely sorry that they like Van Morrison.
Well, I mean, look, but I know you had Americana Sam on here who he be out here buying all 14 Van Morrison albums that came out last year.
Who cares what he's doing now?
He would try to get me. He'd be like, Alex, you got to listen to this Van Morrison record called Bootin' on Skiffle. It's him. It's 3 L or Scootin' on Biddle or whatever it's called. He's like, it's 5 LPs of him doing standards.
Yeah.
He said,
just empty my wallet now. Yes.
That's right.
All right, that was that was good. Now, so you can stay on brand. Question number 9: who's your favorite musician who's also known as a bit of a booze hound?
Ooh.
I love that term too, booze hound. I think of Oliver Reed straight away when I say booze hound.
I just immediately who comes to, and I would assume like they can be deceased.
Yeah. Anyone.
Yeah. The person who comes to mind for me would be, granted, he did get recovery, good for him. But first person that comes to mind would be Warren Zevon.
Sorry?
Warren.
It went weird.
Oh, sorry. Warren Zevon.
Ah.
Your Werewolves of London, Excitable Boy.
Yeah.
Kind of guy. I've loved him. Not a lot of people talk about him. But he was a big boozer for a very, very long time. And here's what sucks, right? He gets clean, right? And then guess what happens? The music sucks. Like, I'm like, I understand maybe for your personal health and your relationships, your life is better, but I'm going to need you to start thinking about the fans and realize that when there's no booze, like the art suffers.
Get back on it, man. But I think he's kicked the bucket anyway, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been dead for about 20 years.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Okay. I'm really up with Warren Zevon, as you can see.
Well,
I do have Excitable Boy, but I don't know a lot about him.
That's okay.
But yeah, I kind of feel like I knew that he was a booze hound. And was it related to his liver why he died? Like he had liver cancer or something?
Lung cancer, but he was a big smoker too.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Definite points because I was educated on that one as well.
Cheers.
All right. And now we're going for number 10, which is a scenario. Okay. Now, there's a little bit to this. So first, think about what would you say is your favorite genre? So like what would you just pull first of all? And then what would you say would be your least favorite genre or even a genre you just can't go there? All right. So you got them in your mind?
Okay. Yep.
So if you had the choice of only listening to 2 records for the rest of your life, and you don't have to listen to them every day, by the way, one of them can be the best, in your opinion, of the genre and the worst of another genre. So it has to be like the best of the genre you don't like and the worst of the genre you do like, and you have to listen to them for the rest of your life.
Okay. There's not more? Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, well...
Were you expecting more?
Well, I just didn't know. I want to make sure I got all my ducks in a row here. Boy, well, I would say generically my go-to genre is prog across the board. Classic prog, neo prog, prog metal, all the subsets, all that type of stuff. In terms of genres that I dislike or don't gravitate towards at all, I probably, and I don't know if I'll get people upset, I don't know, I'm not like a country western sort of guy. Like, there's a lot of people out here that are needing a new pair of shorts, talking about Johnny Cash and all these different, things. And that's great for you. I'll keep my clean pair, But I would say someone who falls within that realm that I absolutely love is Townes Van Zandt. He to me is just different. I don't know why. I just connect with him more. And the record I listen to all the time is Live at the Old Quarter in Houston, Texas, 1977, I think.
Killer record.
Love that. But I don't listen to anything. Like, I don't really care for like John Prine or all those. Respect for him, but I just don't connect with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that would be like the best of that world. Now, the worst of the prog world.
There's a lot to choose from.
There's a lot to choose from, man. I think I'm gonna go with Love Beach by Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
That's deep prog for a person like me.
That's the one where they're dressed like the Bee Gees on the beach.
Oh, I've
Yeah.
seen that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
they look
Keith
like
Emerson's, I think Keith Emerson's
Pablo
like rubbing his
Cruz.
spit a little bit.
Yeah. It's like a Pablo Cruz cover.
It is. That's right. Yep. So
Man,
we'll see if that gets me through.
Oh, you've really been hard on yourself with that one. But yeah, I reckon that Towns Van Zandt record's going to get a few more spins if that's
going to have
got.
to. That's right.
He was like my window into made me get country. Like, yeah, because I quite like a lot of it, but I don't like the 90s is not my thing at all. It's when it got all slick and almost like pop music. I didn't care for it.
Yep.
All right. That is the point. So you're on 8 out of 10. And we're up to number 11. This is my favorite question. In the style of the great Vinyl Richie, do your best. Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody. It's Vinyl Richie here, giving you my 10 best underground punk records out of Bakersfield. I want to add a little pizzazz on that.
Nice. Now, I've been told that I am not a good judge of these Vinyl Richies, so I'm just going to bring this guy on and see what he thinks.
I'm out in the woods in North Carolina, so I might be breaking up.
You're all good, mate.
Okay. I think the impression started out pretty well, but then the accent kind of went away. But the extra details about the 10 and the big show, he gets a point. And I think he should get a point for the Def Leppard question too. So you have to like the band that.
Me?
Uh-oh. I think we froze.
No, we're all good. We're all good.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think you should give him a point for it. What was the question that the Def Leppard was?
That was the worst record by a band that you love. So, all right.
Why didn't you give him a point for that?
Because it was Def Leppard.
Oh, okay. Well, okay. I got to get out of here. I'm on vacation, so my wife's wondering what the fuck is he doing out in the middle of the woods.
Man,
take care.
Great
Alex.
effort. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So he gets a point. He gets a point for the Richie question.
All right. I'll add that. Thanks, mate. See ya.
Outstanding. Well done, sir.
Well, I got to thank VR because of he's at my beck and call these days.
I guess, yeah. He's in the woods, man, on vacation.
Well, I know when it first come on screen and I just saw all the trees, I was like, "What the hell is going on?"
I couldn't tell if that just looked like a good green screen.
Yeah. All right, so I think you've got a point, and I've been told I have to reinstate a point. So I think that makes you 10 out of 11 now.
Okay.
I think so, with your point reinstated.
That'll
for the
work.
Def Leppard. He did make a good point. You had to love the band. I didn't. So
okay, that's fair.
I was
as us bitter Americans would say, stop the count.
This has got everything, this interview. I love it. All right, we're down to our last question, believe it or not, number 12. This might make your head explode. So if it all come down to it in the end, what would it be? Beer or vinyl?
I'm going to go with vinyl. And here's why, is I would be able, because then if I didn't have beer, I would just smoke all the time. I'd be fine that way too. It'd probably be better for these tits too, man. Let's be honest. So I just want.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So vinyl's the answer.
Okay. That's good answer. Good answer.
Thank you. Okay.
So 11 out of 12. Bro, come back hard.
All right.
That vinyl Richie bloke reinstating points. I've totally lost control of this show, man.
I owe him. That's impressive.
All right. Now the bonus question.
Oh God.
Which is usually related to Australia in some form.
You're right.
Okay. Are you ready?
Yep.
Name 3 Australian marsupials.
Okay. I think the koala is a marsupial.
Correct.
And
thank you for not calling it a bear.
No. They don't meet the qualifications.
Oh my God, that was bad.
All right, we're back down to 9 points. This is going to be this is kind of a poll. Do y'all have Tasmanian devils?
We do, but they're not a marsupial.
They're not a marsupial. Okay. What about
marsupials have pouches?
What about pouches? So what about the platypus?
Nope.
Oh my Jesus! I thought you were gonna ask about like Australian bands, and I was gonna impress you by being like, what about Cold Chisel? You know.
They're not a marsupial either.
Not a marsupial. I struggle with the pouches, man. They've never been my thing. So, well, I don't even know if I could name a marsupial from America.
Okay. Matter of fact, I can name several. North American marsupials, known as the opossum.
Okay.
There are several varieties, Alex. I was, funnily enough, quite prepared for this blowback. There's the common opossum, the Derby's woolly opossum, grayish mouse opossum, Mexican mouse opossum, the water opossum, the Virginia opossum, and my favorite, the northern four-eyed opossum. It's a strong opossum game you have up there.
It is. And look, opossums or possums, however people say it, they get a bad rap because they're a little bit ugly, but so am I, so I connect with them. But what's most important is they are super important. Opossums do not carry rabies. So people, they do not get rabies because of the temperature of their body temperature. So rabies are not able to form with them. So they are like the ultimate critter control, and they don't get rabies, so you have nothing to be afraid of.
I love anything without rabies.
Well, depending on my mood, yeah.
Well, that was a fairly big hint of another marsupial that you could have named from here.
Well, okay, like a skunk?
No, no, a goddamn possum, man.
So, a possum? You have possums there?
Yeah.
Oh, I'll go with the possum.
Okay, you got 2. Okay.
And then we're going to go with the famous Australian weasel.
Yes, the old Victorian hairy-nosed weasel. That's the one.
That's right.
And you thought you were going to come on here and just talk about records, man.
This is tough. Yeah.
You done?
I'm done.
I can't give you a bonus point. You're going to kick yourself, man, because you could have went with the most famous thing of all, the kangaroo. They're a marsupial. And then you've got a quokka, wombat, wallaby, and bandicoot, and the numbat. All Australian marsupials.
Wow. Yeah, I shit the proverbial bed on the kangaroo there. That's right.
I know. I thought as soon as I said pouch, you'd be all over that.
I'm a few beers deep, and it's been 40 minutes, Ben. I mean, just let me live.
Speaking of which, I will let you to continue to live we better get out of here because embryonic Brian Robot will bitch about the amount of time that this one's taken because we're all getting into the 40 minutes, but maybe they're just more interesting interviewees than you, Brian. Okay, with that, Burn, let's get out of here. See you in the next one. Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, Ben. Bye, y'all.